Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's patch note breakdown. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for me to do this episode, and now here I am with Ibris, and let me fix this overlay real fast. Yes, Ibris is one of my good friends from from computing.
Really? That's what you're gonna go with? Not the unrequited love of your life? Not one of the coolest people I've ever met? Not, I don't know, anything besides whatever the hell you just said?
So jumping into the first champions, first up we have Kane, and obviously Kane hasn't been released yet, but we don't want to talk about him. Oh, we can talk a bit about him.
Do you wanna?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you feel about him? What are your thoughts, Ipers?
I feel he's okay. He's a top jungler, isn't he? But
I think he's supposed to be like a top laner, but most people are talking about him being a jungler.
yeah, he has a couple of interesting abilities. The invulnerability, untargetability and ability to move through the terrain, obviously very interesting. But looking at professional opinions on him, like Last Shadow in particular thinks he's complete. Well, can I swear in this, Jesper?
No.
Thinks he's completely not great.
Well, you can say stuff like garbage or trash or.
No, it's okay.
Or
He's completely not great. I'll be honest with you. But yeah, he looks cool. And that's enough for some people to want to play him, I guess. It was cool enough for people to play Aatrox, like, you know.
Well, to be honest, I like the idea behind Kane. I feel like he can be a really good champion. What I don't like about him is that he's too reliant on, like, being able to collect the souls. But like once he gets his what is called the demon thing, well, it's what is it? It's a darkened. There we go. Darkened.
The darkened
yes.
form, yeah.
Yeah. Once he gets the darkened form, he can actually deal quite a lot of damage, because the other form, in my opinion, is completely trash. Basically, it's a set without as much split push potential and damage.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that.
Yes.
I'm not particularly that comfortable talking about him, honestly, because I want to see how he gets. Well, he's been released too recently for my liking, so I can't look at his stats in high elo solo queue, because they either ban him or deem him not worth playing. There's not enough data to look at in that regard, and obviously you probably won't be seeing him in competitive, so I can't really give you a formulated opinion on the champion right now.
Well, I just want to hear what your immediate thoughts were about him, but anyways,
he looks fun. I'll give him that.
I have to agree. Yeah. I think he'll have like a fun impact on the game.
Yeah.
Anyways, Alistar. So, Alistar has gotten a nerf. His damage reduction, gotten a buff. His damage reduction on R has been increased from 50, 60, 70 to 55, 65, 75. So, what do you feel about this? Because basically we're in a meta where melee supports are slowly coming back into the favor.
Pretty much melee supports, or well, engage supports in particular, yeah. And Kalista and Alistar are definitely a phenomenal bot lane force.
Yeah.
There's always been that situation where you have, when Riot tend to buff Alistar's ult if they're going to change something in his kit, and every time they do it, he becomes pick banned for a patch or two before they nerf it again. And now it seems like they've gone for a middle ground here, where before they'd buff it by, say, increments of 10%. Now they've gone for 5%, which doesn't look like a particularly devastating change. But honestly, with the way the meta was shaping, he wasn't in too terrible a position before. And when combined in particular with Kalista, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And actually, the champion was picked last patch, which was 7.13, by Africa Freaks this morning, actually, against SK Telecom with Kalista. And Kalista and Alistar are phenomenal together, because you can go in, pop the Unbreakable Will, tank about 4 or 5 tower hits, and when it's about to fall off, just get the Fates call out, and you can do that at any point following level 6.
I also feel like with this buff to his ult that he'll definitely come back into the meta, because overall I feel like Alistar is overall a better dive champion, and we are seeing a lot of like overall champions in this current patch. Sorry, in the current meta that wants to dive. You have the Jarvan, the Kled, in some senses also Gragas, even the LeBlanc from the mid lane, stuff like that, wants to dive in. When you mentioned the Kalista as well, yeah, they want to have even more engagement. Well, with Alistar now being stronger, he'll definitely push someone like, let's say, Braum more out of the favor.
Actually, Braum has a fairly decent matchup into Alistair, you know?
But I'm just
real threat that he poses to anyone in that bot lane is
I'm just
Blitzcrank.
talking about like the individual champions as a whole, because obviously Braum can be good against Alistar, but I would rather have an Alistar on my team than a Braum if in certain matchups.
Yeah, in certain matchups, we could say that about any champion, to be honest, except Leona, who apparently falls flat compared to every other engaged support. Even though she is my favorite.
But you
keep
have
an eye on these champions for their Gargoyle Stoneplate and Locket of the Iron Solari synergy, where you get that massive shield on your team.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while to ramp up the gold to get those two items, but once you have them, you pretty much mitigate so much of the burst coming your team's way. It's unreal.
But that's a good point, Ibris. Sorry. So but just what I'm saying is that you had to like look at the individual champions that are being favored in the current meta, and then think about how, let's say, a Braum or an Alistar, Taric, who's also getting touched in this patch that I can see, where they will fit in. And I feel like an Alistar could fit in really well just because of his ability to be that dive tank in the bottom side.
I think it's just because of Kalista, to be honest. Because you can use the Fate's Call to get in, get a big knock up if you want.
Yeah.
Then land your Pulverize, and then you can use the Headbutt as a zoning tool to knock away a priority target or a peeling target, and expose the enemy team in a fight.
Well, I mean,
like that. It gives you so much utility. You won't see Alistar that much when not paired with Kalista, I don't think. But I think the champion, this was not really the most necessary of changes, but he's always come back into pick ban whenever Riot have messed with his ultimate, and it'll be interesting to see if he makes more of an appearance in competitive following this change.
Yes, obviously, and well, other AD carries can also be paired up with Alistar. We have even the likes of, let's say, a Twitch or Tristana can also be fairly well with that Alistar if they want to. However, Ibis, I feel like we should probably move on now, onto the Caitlyn instead, now that we are talking about AD carries. So Caitlyn has gotten her attack speed per level reduced. So basically, the growth is now 2% instead of 4%.
Yeah, now, honestly, I don't feel like that's too heavy a change.
No.
It doesn't look that significant, but it's actually quite a bit of attack speed in that later on, like later phases of the game. However, given the fact that she no longer itemizes Runearms as a core part of her build because, you know, it doesn't play Headshot anymore, all of that, you can see her going for the Berserker's Greaves plus another attack speed item, and sometimes you actually see the other attack speed item as well.
The rapid fire cannon and stack shiv.
Yeah, well, you don't really see the stack shiv that often, but obviously, yeah, you see the rapid fire cannon. Occasionally, you do see the Phantom Dancer as well, and that's what you want to keep your eyes on if they pair that with the Infedge, with the Bloodthirster, Armor Pen item. Obviously, you have the defensive options like the Mercurial Scimitar, which is core for a majority of these AD carries, or even the likes of your Guardian Angel. But I really think that this doesn't actually take away from... It takes a little bit away from Caitlyn's late game, but she's still the dominating force in lane and still that definite pick ban in terms of these AD carries towards the bot lane.
And that's a good point that you're coming in with, because obviously you don't want to hurt her damage and overall potential down in the bottom side, but she has become a bit of a problematic AD carry because she is so favored in the current meta. Like, she's a very safe pick. Obviously you can go for the likes of a Kog'Maw, a Twitch, Tristana, in some cases even a Jinx if you want the latest late game damage. You can even go for a Varus or an Ashe if you want more utility, but Caitlyn has just become this very safe pick, And I feel like with the potential she also brings in the later stages of the game, because she hasn't really been contested that hard in the mid game, obviously you can build around that. I feel like this is a good change to her, in order to open up for even more AD carries to take her place, while her still being a safe AD carry.
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. And like you just listed the late game hyper carries that she obviously falls in line with. But as you mentioned, the meta really favors her right now. Like largely in part to the fact she can pretty much outduel any other AD carry early on, bar like Lucian should he get in range.
Yeah.
But as well as that, the traps are borderline oppressive as well as her innate range, because like you mentioned before, the support meta has changed to one where it's mostly engage, mostly melee supports, and she punishes them so hard, and it makes their lane phase a living nightmare to be against her, that I can understand why Riot continue to want to tweak her, given that she is so borderline oppressive to lane against.
Yes, well, on top of that, you even have like the headshots, the 90 caliber net, so she is a pain in the butt to lane against. And well, yeah, as you said, like 2%, it isn't that much, especially early on, but in later stages it will become a problem for her. But with the likes of Phantom Dancer, Static Shift, Rapid Fire Cannon, you can make up for that while still being that safe late game AD carry so and so.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cho'Gath now?
Yes, yes. Okay, so Cho'Gath. Mobile spikes now only applies to next 3 attacks, but does significantly more damage. Just reading up what they wrote down. Q mana cost down, W silence duration up at early ranks. So, if we start with the wobble spikes, his next 3 basic attacks after using the ability, I guess it is, launches spikes that damage and slow all targets. What do you feel about this change?
So they've changed what was basically a passive into a more interactive ability, which is always healthy, I'd say, for the state of the game, given the fact that it didn't have any active beforehand. It was just like a little bit additional damage on every attack. Now, I like that it's given him additional like slowing potential, because it lets him stick to a target for longer, obviously, and it lets him, if he is to land a rupture, he can then chain it with a couple of auto attacks into the Feral Scream, or if he gets in range of someone to auto attack them, he can rupture, he can full combo, and then drop his ult on someone, which is pretty much all Cho'Gath wants to do.
Yes.
But
I feel like an aspect that you have to look at right here is the fact that it probably gives him more jungle clear. He's going to be able to clear it faster, especially because of the rupture, giving it a bit more not more damage, just been toned down a little bit, 5 health damage, sorry, but still with the rupture now costing less. That's what I want to say. You have a fairly good clear, especially with the max health damage coming from the wobble spikes, the fairly good damage already from the base damage and the ability ratio. I feel like he'll not be a meta pick. He'll probably not be something you want to even go for in solo queue, but it's definitely a step in the right direction to bring him back and make sure that he can actually clear the jungle fast enough to keep up with some of the junglers that are more favored in the junglers champion pool.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry, I'm still cringing because I cleared my throat into the microphone thinking I was pressing the mute key, but I pressed the unmute key and
no worries.
Anyways, moving swiftly onwards.
It's not like people are listening to this video. And
dude, they'll watch it just based on the fact that I'm here. Let's be real with you. Anyways, yeah. So as you said, the additional clear speed.
Yeah.
As well as that, I think that he's not too terrible top lane if you ban out like everything, I guess. Because it's such a terrible matchup into Nara, into Fiora, into Jace with the lethality changes, especially.
Oh yeah.
Like, this champion is not in a healthy state.
No.
But I think with the fact that tank meta is going to resurge thanks to the assassin changes on this patch in particular, I think this is a step in the right direction and just I want to say a placebo buff, in the sense that it makes him feel better. It makes people see that he's not too terrible after all, but it doesn't remove the innate problems that the champion faced, where he just becomes useless if he gets behind, and as well as that, he doesn't have the greatest amount of utility. Like, he has a silence and a knock-up, but they're both so unreliable in hitting them that I don't feel that he's in a great place, but I feel like he's in a better place. He's in a better place. Like, he's passed away, but not quite like that. No, it's a new lease on life for Cho'Gath anyway. So
I get what you're saying. I really get what you're saying, and I feel like probably the biggest problem for Cho'Gath is that he has literally no mobility. Like, that's what hurts him the most, because he can't jump over walls. He can't run through terrain like a Kayn. He has no way of getting around the map unless he buys mobility boots, and it's not like you really want to go for that as a AP mage so-and-so in the jungle. So that's really a big problem. Yeah,
you could go full tank, but then he's really useless.
Then he's really useless. Then he's basically Ibris.
Hey man, leave me alone. He's got max health damage now anyway, and Feast obviously no cap anymore, so that extra 0.5% per stack should help him out.
Yes.
But I'm not too sure what the implications that would have for everything, if I'm honest with you.
Yes, but we'll have to see like how he does once he is played a bit more, because I don't believe that this is going to be the thing pushing him over the edge, but it's, as we said, both of us, a step in the right direction. So, should we move on to Diana, Ibris, or do you have anything else to say?
No, dude, I love Diana. That's all I'm gonna say here.
Okay, so moving on to Diana. Do you want to introduce her?
Yeah, go on then.
Do you want to
introduce? Attack speed now procs off spellcasts and increases with E rank. Yes. Passive attack now restores mana. That's cool. Q cooldown reduced at early levels. W mana cost reduced at early levels. Pretty much just buffs across the board here, and with assassins coming back into meta, like, she's one of the only AP assassins that has found a niche to flourish in, and I'm really glad that Diana's received these buffs to compensate for the lethality changes that the AD assassins are going to benefit off of.
I really love Diana. I used to play her quite a lot when I was like, if I have to admit it, probably around gold. So I feel like, as you said, this is just buffs all around the board. I feel like this is again steps in the right direction. It's not really what is again going to push her over the meta line, but definitely something that will help her a bit. And what I love is that they're forcing her out of the mid lane, where she's straight up useless because of her not being able to push in, and she can't really farm on the tower.
I think she's gonna come back now.
In the mid lane?
Yeah, definitely actually. Because she's one of the few champions that can rush Hourglass without being punished too heavily in terms of her itemization.
But
like, all you really need is Hourglass into National's Tooth, and then you're sat at 30% CDR, you're fairly tanky, and she does so much damage with a surprisingly little amount of items. It's pretty disgusting, actually.
Well, that's a good point, but what I like about Diana is that she's able to be played in the jungle, and if you look to go into the jungle, all you really need is to perhaps rush mobility boots, sorcerer shoes. You can go for Luna's Echo to get even more damage in the early game, because you also having that extra attack speed from your Moonsilver Blade. There's actually a lot of wave clear potential coming out from Diana.
Yeah, you know, she used to have the passive 20% attack speed, which is what brought her to the jungle.
Yes.
At the start, to be honest. Though a lot of people took attack speed runes on her anyway, regardless of if she was in lane or jungle. But obviously now it only applies for 3 attacks after her spellcasts, but the Moonsilver Blade like special attack that happens every 3 attacks is still there. As well as that, it does restore mana equal to 15% of her ability power, and as well as that, it scales a lot with Moonfall, with 50% attack speed at level 1, which is what she's gonna sit on for most of the game. Let's be honest.
Well, that's actually what I want to hit on, because I feel like I haven't tested it, but I do feel like you could perhaps look to just rush Moonfall as your first maxed item. Hear me out. So basically, Crescent Strike has a 55 mana cost. So basically, yes, she's fairly mana hungry, but if you just use that to clear the jungle, then you can power farm to level 6. And because of you having rushed the sorcerer shoes, you can deal so much damage in a quick succession in a gank.
I
haven't tested it, but I feel like it could potentially work out.
I really prefer the Q max, the more conventional Crescent Strike max, into well, I'd say sit on tier 1 boots, level 6, and well, yeah, you can go for Sorks or you can go for Swiftness, but what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you take W level 1, the standard Diana thing, attack speed runes, and then what was it? Oh yeah, Runic Echoes, obviously, with what do you think? I'd probably go for Green Smite, given the fact that the warding is so useful, but maybe Red? I used to like Red a lot on Diana, like Smite TP Diana top was my jam, back when that was meta, like with the Red Smite top lane, but...
I would probably go for Blue, for the slow.
Who the hell goes Blue Smite, dude?
No, I never said it was good.
What?
But I said you could go for it in order to have the slow if you want to look for like ganking. Obviously, I would also prefer to get the green because of the extra vision, but you could potentially go for the blue just to have the extra slow in ganks, depending on your laners. If your laners suck at setting up ganks for you. That's my 10 cents.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah,
ganks kind of suck until level 6 anyway. Now
exactly.
The Maokai isn't meta.
But anyways, like I do see where you're coming from regarding the Moonfall, and I do also feel like 50%.
I think it's a 1-point wonder still, honestly. Yeah. Because the 10% attack speed per rank isn't actually that much.
No, it isn't.
And as well as that, she gets so much out of her other spells that you'd be stupid to not max them.
50 is still a lot. Like, I see where you're coming from, and I just say that it could potentially work out. It's just a thought that I have, and I don't say that I want to go out and test in the solo queue, but I would definitely be interested in seeing it. Anyways, do you want to move on to Fiora? Because I don't feel like we're getting anywhere.
You're triggering me here, yes, but don't listen to this guy. Always max Q, Diana players.
So, Fiora...
Dude, of your 8 viewers, how many of them do you think play Diana? Like, -1 or what?
I don't know.
These better got Fiora. I don't think they did.
So,
they nerfed her a little bit, but...
passive movement speed was reduced or no longer grants duelist dance's movement speed when near the target. So yeah, you were saying, stop drinking, you bastard.
Okay, so this champion is really dumb. She's a late game hyper carry, like unparalleled by anyone to be honest. But her lane phase isn't actually all that bad. In fact, it's kind of borderline oppressive, given the fact that she has so much innate percentage health true damage. A lot of utility to get out of ganks thanks to her riposte, the dashes from her lunge, etc, etc. And the mobility from that actually is what I had the main issue with, given the fact that it reduces in cooldown by so much, and she itemizes towards CDR thanks to the Black Cleaver. Although some go for Triforce nowadays, but still, 20% CDR, and movement speed from the Phage component. But it's stacked so well with Duelist Dance. Like, every time she procced it, it just gave insane amounts of move speed. And then Grand Challenge giving that just meant that if she popped R on you, you weren't going to get out alive, especially if she had W up to stun you if you were going to CC or whatever. I feel like this is not the most devastating of changes to her, and she's still this late game beast that honestly is unstoppable past about 4 or 5 items. But I think it's a step in the right direction and just helps give a little bit more peace of mind to these tank players that are going to resurge with the new patch. They're going to be like, not Fiora every game they play against her. and it just gives them just a little bit more of a window of opportunity to get away from the Grand Duelist herself.
Yes, and well, I don't have a lot to. Oh, my microphone just blew up.
Oh God.
My
She killed me, yes.
microphone just blew
I
up.
don't love
So,
it.
as I was saying, like, I don't have a lot to say about Fiora. I have to agree with you. You said most of it, but I do feel like, well, you say it's not a devastating change. I do feel like it's a fairly strong change. It will probably reduce a lot of her power, in my opinion, because a lot of the power in Fiora, at least according to me, lies in her mobility. And because of this movement speed being reduced from the duelist stance, while it wasn't, while it won't take away her potential damage, she will still have less like chasing potential, and that just means that she can still be a late game damage carry, she can still be borderline suppressive in the laning phase, but at least you now have a bigger chance at getting away.
Yes, but I think it just kind of hurts her a little bit early game, but after she gets Phage or even the Triforce or Black Cleaver, it just, like, it's a negligible change, honestly, because these tanks, they don't really itemize towards move speed, so if she gets on top of them, I think that they're going to have a difficult time getting her off regardless, because if they have CC, then they run the risk of it getting reposted, and that if she manages to stick to someone proc passive, she's still going to be that sticky, devastating, ridiculously mobile thanks to her no cooldown Q, blah 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 blah, that kind of champion, you know? Not a good time for anyone involved except for the Fiora player, but anyway, I really don't like that champion.
Yeah, I agree with you. So let's move on to Garen. So his passive has been modernized, I guess you say, and buffed, because now
modernized.
Yeah, it's been changed. Let's just put it that way. And W now grants damage reduction and tenacity, briefly activation. EAD ratio per spin has come up. So, like, basically, he gains, as far as I can see, a little bit less health from his passive, but now his passive will go sky high earlier on, where it used to be like 4% at level 11, and then later on it would be 10%. Now it's 2 to 8, so basically more health in that sense. And he will be able to get that health regain faster because of the combat timer being lowered. So that's a bit of a helping hand coming out from Garen.
Yeah, lane sustain was never really his major issue though.
No.
Like, the champion has a decent lane phase. In fact, that's pretty much all he has. Because later on he just becomes he becomes Garen. He does literally nothing, to be honest.
The thing about Garen is that he brings nothing to the table. Like, yes, he in some matchups can be a good top laner. Can be, I guess.
Actually, you know, I think he does okay into Fiora. Like, no, really, like, honestly, he does fine into Fiora and Riven. Like, he was the Riven Fiora counter. It's quite funny, actually.
Doesn't her Q still silence you? Or did they change that?
Garen's?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Q still silences you.
So that's a good point against
but
Fiora.
Pretty much after lane phase, you're kind of messed up. Yes. And I say he counters Fiora, I mean until about 15 minutes, and then she starts to hard counter him. Like, really, he does nothing after lane phase.
I'll say that he counters Fiora to, like, perhaps 10 minutes into the game. Once she gets her phage, it's over. GG.
I feel like you can do the stone plate locket rush on him. No, seriously, and then you bring a massive shield to your team at least. Like, that's good. I'd like to try that, I guess.
I agree with you, like, the problem about Garen is not that he needs buffs. Obviously, he needs buffs as well, but he's just borderline terrible. Like, he brings nothing to the table. There's no CC. He brings a bit of damage, but that's really about it. And now, obviously,
you're gonna hurt his feelings here, man. Leave him out. He's a good guy, that Garen.
Obviously, he has a little bit of damage reduction now and tenacity, but it's not even a second. So he's still terrible.
Well,
he's still
no,
trash.
that just means that if you can predict something, like something coming towards you, then it's it's good to have that initially.
Yeah, so you're able to
Like
run
class
into
assault is coming down. You can
so you're
do that.
able to use your judgment in team fights, predict the assault, virus, chain of corruption, whatever, and then you can die a little less slower.
Dude, that judgment change, that would be so good if anyone played full AD Garen. Actually, I think some people do play full AD Garen.
We're back to the meme where you jump into the brush.
No, really, like, with Black Cleaver, well, I don't know what else they build after Black Cleaver, to be honest. Like, yeah,
Infinity
it's Garen, what can I say? Moving swiftly onward.
Infinity Edge.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Iron, you want to talk about Iron? Go.
His W has a reduced cast range.
Oh my god!
It gives him vision still? No?
No, they
removed that as well. They removed it on Anivia and Trundle's terrain as well, which is sad.
Don't it show vision in brushes, but it doesn't remove the Dragon and the Baron vision?
No. Now they've changed it so that it doesn't even do the vision of the thing.
At all. Okay.
Same for Anivia and thingy.
Okay.
Wait, no, actually it might give him vision for 3 seconds.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it gives him a bit of vision, but it
vision.
just denies. But they can't do like the Dragon and Baron denial anymore.
Yeah, the Trundle and Anivia got hit hard though. They no longer give vision at all.
Yeah. So, okay, if we have to be serious about this change, I feel like it's a big change to him. Obviously, it's such a huge reduction of his cast range, and it will obviously hurt him a lot. Especially take away some of his safety in terms of the ways that he can move into the jungle, the ways that he can counter invade or even help his laners.
Yeah, I think he was already falling out meta though, but I think that this nerf to him and the nerfs to Nunu are further ramifications of the fact that the likes of your Kog'Maw coming back into meta, these hyper carry AD carries, because it's really frustrating if you have a Nunu or an Ivan just constantly peeling for these hyper carries and you can't get anywhere near them. And I think that these champions are suffering because of the position that AD carries are finding themselves in, given the fact that you want a utility jungler nowadays, so that your support can play just full engage support and have someone to back him up if your top lane is playing a split pusher or a whatever, you know? You get me? Like, honestly, I feel like the Ivan and the Nunu changes here, yes, they're strong, yes, they're high utility, like, they're low risk, high reward, but they also, like, if they fall behind, they're pretty useless, and I think that their risk of becoming useless was reduced if they had the likes of a Kog'Maw, a Caitlyn, or a Tristana, or a Twitch on their team. And you're seeing these nerfs to them because these AD carries exist.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, he definitely wasn't in meta.
Yes.
He definitely wasn't in meta anymore. But I do feel like this is not the way that I want him to see. Sorry, to see him being nerfed, because while he is like something you can fall back on as a late game AD carry, as you mentioned, I feel like taking away this way of him getting vision is not the way to go. I would rather see them perhaps hit a bit on his abilities, not take away this very unique way of granting vision for yourself and making sure that you are able to stay safe.
Yeah, sure. Honestly, I feel like he falls a little bit behind the rest of the junglers you see on this patch. Like, generally, I feel like Rek'Sai, Gragas, Elise, sometimes even Lee Sin or Olaf or Kha'Zix, like, they have a lot more presence on this patch.
They have.
And they have, like, honestly, I don't see where these changes are coming from. Like, I want to say that it's in response to the fact that this AD carry role is so strong.
Yeah.
But when you remind yourself that a lot of the, I say a lot, but Varus, Jhin, and even Xayah to a lesser extent don't rely all that much on the Blood Boil from Nunu. So you see the Nunu changes. Obviously, Ivan is always useful, regardless of what AD carry you have, because of your shields and whatnot. But genuinely, I feel like nerfing these guys hurts AD carries almost as much as the fact that Randuin's and Thornmail have been changed this patch.
Yes.
Like, I'm going off on a tangent here.
Yeah, I think. Alright, let's move on. I don't want to talk too much about Rammus. Basically, it's just a bit of like a feel-good nerf. Sorry, buff. Not too much in my opinion to really talk about. Do you want to hit on anything? I feel like it's basically just, as I said, a feel-good buff.
What, on Rammus?
Yes.
I don't know. It makes him a little bit faster.
Yeah, but that's about it. That's really about it.
It's not an engage tool. It's when he's in there already with the W on. It helps him get closer to a target, I guess, if they're moving like a unit a second or something. But yeah, it's more of a placebo buff.
Yes.
Like it just feels good, combined with the fact that new Thornmail is a bit less synergistic with Rammus's kit.
So, moving on to Singed. New passive grants movement speed when passing by other champions, base and scaling health increase, Q base damage down, AP scaling up, W now grounds enemies within it. Go, Ibis. Your thoughts.
Well, he's already been nerfed because he was too oppressive, but these changes are really, really nice. Massive increase in base health to compensate for the fact that he's losing the passive that would usually give him health.
Yes.
The health growth is good as well, but again, that's just to compensate for the fact that he's not getting any more health for his mana. The passive is nice. He gets some move speed when moving towards, away, near a champion. The Q is, well, it's okay. They've nerfed the base damage but increased the scaling. If you want to play AP Singed with your Rod of Ages, your Seraph's Embrace, your Leandri's Torment, that kind of thing. Which is, yeah, that's fair enough. Mega Adhesive's duration is nerfed, but it now grounds, which is really, really nice. That is definitely a 1-point wonder, but that is so, so nice because, you know, like Cassiopeia W, they can't flash, they can't ghost, they can't do anything really till they're out of it, and I really, really like that. If you fling them into the middle of it, they're stuck. Like, they can't get out of that, and should Singe find himself on a priority target, they are pretty much just caught in his grasp. The fling changes are negligible, and the ult change is really nice because it's a buff on the stats, and, well, slight buff on the stats, and a reduced mana cost, which is really nice.
I want to hit the most on like his base stats. So I feel like with him now having more health early on, he's always been like a champion that if he just gets a little bit of a lead in his lane can be fairly strong. And with him now having more health, you can go in for even more fights early on. And when you have the new passive, it's going to be so much easier to set up a gank for your jungler. And I feel like those two together can be so crucial for a gank to happen because of him being so much safer while still having a fair amount of damage coming in from his Q, the poison trail. And obviously, as you said, the W, if you hit it correctly, is now so much better.
Yeah, but you'll see on competitive in this patch, and pretty much in all of the past couple of patches, that most of the, like, I think this is good for solo queue, like that's the only place you'll see Singed, but in terms of competitive, what?
I swear one day we'll see Samsung White's top laner come back.
Lupa, he's playing on Echo Fox.
Yeah, I don't watch anything else. Yes, I don't watch trash.
Anyway,
that's why
CLG and my team. You do not shit talk them. They are my boys.
That's why I'm not looking at you, Ibris.
Look, it's signed by CLG from last season.
Wait, is I don't see anything on it. Is that
X-Smithy, Afro?
Wait, dude, why do you have trash on your poster?
Oh, Sean, go away, dude. Anyways, moving swiftly onwards.
Let's go
back on topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the meta right now is to play towards the top side and get your top laner snowballing, get Rift Herald, use it to siege mid lane turret, bring your support up, leave your AD carry to farm to mid late game, group mid, shove mid with your priority mid lane, just use it to push out the side waves, and then just kind of slow crush the game that kind of way, while getting neutral objectives because of the mid priority and side lane priority you've got for yourself. Now, if you're playing around top, I don't rate Singed very highly, because his dueling potential is actually not fantabulous. His 2v2, again, not spectacular. Maybe if he is like a really high damage early game jungler like Elise. But Singed flourishes in metas where he can just be a distraction for the enemy team and facilitate a lot for his team by drawing the enemy team towards him while your team does something else around the map. But as it's a top lane focused meta, you're gonna find yourself in a situation where having the enemy team top isn't actually all that ideal, because if they kill Singed while you're committing bot lane, they get Rift Herald, and then next thing you know, they have mid priority off of that. And I really struggle to see a place in this meta where you'd willingly pick Singed over the likes of Galio, of Nara, of Kled, of Jarvan, of, well, Jace, even on this patch? Like, what does Singed bring to the table that these champions don't bring?
I see where
better, honestly.
I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from, and
don't get me wrong, he is fantastic for solo queue.
In solo queue, but in competitive, he's still trash. Like,
he's not trash, but again, meta suits him entirely. Like, you'll see,
not something you want to look at locking in early on.
Perhaps you'll see a few people like perhaps go to lock him in, but also an issue is that if you pick him first, that already locks you out of the priority junglers of Zac and Sejuani, because otherwise, if you lock either of those two in with Singed, your top half of the map doesn't have damage for 20 minutes or so, and that's really a position where you can't find yourself in as a professional team.
You'll probably, if they really want to pick Singed, I don't feel like they want to pick him early on. Probably 4th or like final.
Yeah, after the other top laners have been banned out, and that's like advantage, yeah.
Exactly.
But I think that with Maokai no longer being a top lane pick as well, that kind of invalidates Singed, because Singed was always the go-to Maokai counter pick. And then I think if you see Singed top, you'll see the likes of Swain top. Swain was always the counter pick to Singed, for example. Could even see Vlad top or something like that. Just for every champion that Singed counters, there's a couple more that counter him. And when he's doing his little PvE shenanigans, that's in a bot lane focus meta. Perhaps you can see a resurgence of that with the fact that Cogmore is now an option for these teams. But I don't feel like Singed is really going to make too much of an impact on competitive. Watch him make an impact on competitive, and me sounds totally stupid for saying this. But
no.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think we can agree on agreeing. So let's move on to Taric.
Yep.
Mana regen increased at early levels, Q heals more, charge model updated, E cooldowns higher, early lower later, E deals more damage and stuns for the same duration at all ranks. So I haven't looked at this patch note before. I just got home from vacation. But I did hear about this change to Taric, about how it could potentially put him as one of the top tier supports in the current meta.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. Like, I think he's fine. I think he's a pocket pick. I think he's okay, but his lane phase still is not as amazing as it could be. He's fine, I think. He's doing okay for himself. I don't feel like these changes were the changes many Taric mains wanted to see, but I feel like that it's okay, you know? Like, in any meta where melee supports are flourishing, where these hard engaged supports are having a good time, in any meta where, well, his ult is going to be useful anywhere, thanks to the invulnerability it brings. I feel like this is an okay change to him. Like, I don't feel like he'll shoot up in priority. I don't feel like we'll see him over the likes of your Rakan, Thresh, Braum, Alistair, Blitzcrank, that kind of thing. But I feel like the fact that his ult is so useful against the plethora of assassins that we're going to see this patch because of the lethality changes, like your Jace, Zed, Talon, that kind of thing. I think that this is a little bit of a nice change to just help push him back into the limelight that little bit more, into that like second tier of supports, perhaps.
Well, I could actually see him just shoot up because of the Starlight's touch change. I feel like with him now having more charges and his bravado empowered attacks reducing the cooldown and granting a charge, I feel like he can be a much better team fight support, which I would love to see. And with him already going for a bunch of cooldown reduction, like if we do the math real quick, you have 13 seconds on his ult. Like, sorry, not his ult, his stun the dazzle. If you have 40% cooldown reduction, like you'll be able to take away 5.2 seconds. So you're down to 7.8 seconds stun. On top of that, you have so much healing. You have the ult. I feel like he could shoot up. I definitely will put him higher on my priority list in terms of what I would like to see teams pick. Obviously, as you mentioned, Thresh is still there. Alistar is still there.
Blitzcrank,
yes, there are
Bro,
still others that
Rakan,
can be better than him, but I would definitely put him higher on my priority list. I would definitely put him.
Did you put anyone higher than Leona? Come on.
I miss Leona. I
miss Leona. She was my main in season 3, dude.
I used to play her a lot. But I will definitely put Tarek at least even or a bit higher than Braum in terms of priority. And that's my opinion. So moving on to Yorick, because I don't feel like we'll agree on anything here. Yorick, Mistwalker base damage down early game. Maiden of the Mists health up late game. Mist Walkers more responsive. Graves more consistent. Go Ibris. I feel like this is probably someone that fits you really well.
Yorick. Old Yorick actually I was really good at. But that was
I'm just thinking like this emo theme.
Really good at. Oh, thanks. I don't play him. He's when he got reworked was around the same time I stopped playing top lane. But yeah, he's fun. Yeah. That's a good change to the mist jumpers. Like, it lets them go attack. Obviously it's just buffs all around for them. Yeah. Besides the early game, and I think his lane phase was fairly solid, but I think he still suffers from the fact that he does nothing in team fights. Like,
he's a bit like
you just sit in a side lane with Maiden of the Mist, hoping that someone comes to you, but you don't even push that fast. Is the main issue.
So
and his itemization is poor. Like, I'm really not a fan of New Yorick, honestly. He doesn't bring anything to the table that other champions don't do better.
He's a bit like Garen.
Sure, why not? You could say that.
He's useless. Anyways, let's talk about Thornmail and Bramblewest. So, Ibris, okay. I want to hear your thoughts about this, because you like to talk a lot about tanks, and that's not exactly my main focus overall in League, what I tend to specify in.
So, I really love this Bramblevest, given the fact that it gives grievous wounds to whoever attacks you, which is fine, I guess, but only if they basic attack you, so it's not actually that devastating. It just means if you're dueling the likes of an Aurelia, Fiora, Garen top lane, you chip away at whatever regen they have going. Or if you're taking a duel when both of you have popped a health potion, like, I thought it'd be good versus Vlad or Swain, but when are Vlad and Swain going to be auto-attacking anyway? It's good for your, like, enemy lifesteal, I guess. I think they're okay items. The changes are fine. You should be rushing Thornmail against AD carries that are rushing Blade of the Ruined King, well, not rushing it, but itemizing for Thorn Mail if they have Blade of the Ruined King. But I think if they go for like the standard crit items with the Infedge and the Zeal items, you know, that kind of thing, you just go for Rando and Toman. I don't think this new Thorn Mail is particularly devastating, but I think that it's a decent item, though I'm still a bit miffed that it only has 250 health. Like, that's not spectacular, is it?
I think it's a super good item now for tanks in general. And one thing I really want to point out is that I feel like the Bramble Vest is going to be so good in certain matchups. If you have, let's say, a Gnar in the top side, or another tank such as who would you send up to the top side? You don't say Maokai up there anymore.
Who would you send top lane?
Yes, as a tank.
Jarvan? As a tank?
Yes.
Gragas?
Yeah, Gnar, Gragas.
Kind of Gnar, Kled, Renekton, Jarvan? No Sejuani top.
In some senses.
But,
anyways, as I was about to say,
it's bruiser meta, but if you're going back to like super tanks, you could say like Poppy, but yes. I don't expect to see much of her.
But anyways,
Galio, full tank Galio.
Yeah, that's it. Galio, Gnar, and Gragas. So as I was saying, basically, I feel like Bramble Vest is going to be such a huge item, and it's basically because of the Grievous wounds and the basic attack reflecting to 20 magic damage. It's going to be an interesting item for me to rush against something like, let's say, a Jace. Because yes, Jace doesn't exactly heal of any lifesteal such, but the Dawn's Blade, which he'll probably go for, will be affected by this. That means that you'll actually stand a chance as a top lane tank against the likes of a Jace, or even if you are going up against Gnar as a Gragas.
Yeah, sure.
That's why I would love to see people rush the Bramble Vest. I don't feel like Thorn Mail is that good. I feel like it's a good item in certain scenarios, like if you are against a let's say a Kog'Maw. But Bramble Vest, however, is a strong item in my opinion.
Situationally strong, but you could say that about every item, to be honest.
Yes. Anyways, let's move on then.
Yeah.
So, Ancient Coin. Crest Reward now grants movement speed to approaching allies instead of an early skill point.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like that's a better change. I definitely feel like the early skill point, I like the idea they had behind it, but it's definitely not something that'll have a big impact.
Other things such as the shield from the Relic Shield line, or the move speed when proccing the active from the Spell Thieves line. It's really not that. It wasn't really that great, was it?
No, it wasn't at all.
That's really not a very talkative change.
No.
Don't talk about Randoins now.
Yeah. So just moving on, Randoins real quick. I want to talk about it fast and move on to lethality. So Randoins, I like the idea. I feel like 2 Ruby crystals is terrible.
Ruby crystals.
Ruby.
Yes. Ruby. Pokemon
Sorry,
Ruby
I've
and Sapphire,
always heard the Americans call it.
No one calls it Ruby. No one calls it Ruby, dude. Ruby, always Ruby.
Whatever, Ruby. I'll call them Ruby. You'll call them Ruby.
No, dude. No one calls it Ruby. Who the hell calls it Ruby?
I feel like
no one
if
calls
you
it
go
Ruby, dude.
for 2,
No.
I'll mute
Chill.
you. I'll mute you on OBS.
Alright. Go on then.
So Ruby Crystal. I feel like if you are being forced to buy 2 of them, they'll take up too much space, and therefore I feel like Giant's Belt is a good change to go for instead. Makes it a bit of a cleaner way of getting the item. Do you have anything to say? Anything to add? You're not muted?
Like I said, if the enemy AD carry is building towards the crit build, just get the Randoins now. It's got a better build path. It pairs nicely with the tank meta hand in hand. I don't think Deadman's play is that amazing, and if you're looking for a reliable armor item or a health item, that Randoins is definitely a possibility, but only if the animated carry is building crit.
So let's move on to lethality. So
I think this is the last major change of the patch, by the way.
Okay, fair enough. Alright, so walk me through lethality then. I haven't seen this before and you've seen it. So tell me, what is lethality then?
So it used to grant armor penetration based on your enemy's level. Now it just does it on your level. And the items now tell you how much armor penetration lethality is giving you. Now they've changed pretty much all of the items that had lethality on them to grant you more lethality, but less AD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and they added a passive to them.
Yeah,
Like,
they
got rid of the move speed.
They've given them, well, at least Potion's Knife and Serrated Dirk, they've given Headhunter to give them more early game damage.
Dustblade is really strong now. It's a go-to rush for a majority of these assassins, and you see a lot of people just going for it. First item,
dude,
it's actually broken.
It gives. I like how they just changed Dustblade, Yumus, and Edge of Night to all give like 80 lethality, and then
lethality, and then it gives you a decent amount of AD.
Yeah,
CDR.
and Duskblade, yeah, a decent amount of AD, gives cooldown reduction, it even slows the target. Holy hell.
Yeah, that aim is pretty broken right now.
Yeah. And it's, I even had the total cost reduced.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I can understand why people were talking about this on Twitter. So, yeah, obviously, Duskblade Reflector will be a huge item in the next patch. Yumus will also, I guess, be something you want to go for, potentially, if you are an assassin.
Yumus is okay. I like
it's definitely not. Yeah, it's not something you want to rush. Obviously,
Kha'Zix's jungle as well really benefits from that.
Yes, as I said, it's not something you want to rush, but it's definitely not a bad item. And pairing it up with the likes of a Duskblade just gives you even more early game and mid game power. Especially if you are the likes of a Zed or a Talon, or even a Kha'Zix, as you've mentioned. I think that's basically about it, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay. Well, is there anything you want to say to all of my fans out there, Ibis, then?
No, dude. No? Absolutely not. Thank you for joining us on this adventure through patch notes. It was enlightening, to say the very least. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, Jesper, he turns to me when he needs knowledge, and when I'm paying attention, I can give him the best of the best. But half of it was a bit half-assed, I'll be honest with you, but the rest of it was pretty good insight, you know? If you have any questions, you message Jesper on Twitter, and if he has any questions, he'll message me. So you can get an indirect answer from me.
Yes, and obviously...
Thank you for watching.
Obviously, you can find us both on Twitter. You can find me at Benvarmeren, and you can find Ibris at XSusiaLol.
No, it's just IbrisLol now, dude. Get with the times.
It's IbrisLol Dan, so you can find him over there. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Perhaps Ibris will join me again.